Welcome to our channel. Today's story is not just a story, it's a reminder of something we all forget. Nothing is impossible. Not when your heart is stubborn. Not when your dream burns louder than your excuses. Today, we bring you the emotional, powerful, and unforgettable journey of a boy. Not from a big city. Not with wealth. Not with support. He had nothing. Except one thing. A dream that refused to die. This is not just a story. This is a fight against destiny. This is a boy who went from night security guard to software engineer. This story will break you, it will lift you, and it will change the way you see your own life. After this story, you'll never say, "I can't" again. I promise. Every second of this story is worth it. Part 1. The Boy Who Watched from the Window. My name is Liam. I was born in a dusty little town where people didn't dream. They adjusted. The streets were noisy, the homes were tight, and the sky always looked like it had no space for people like us. I grew up in a middle-class family, the kind no one makes movies about. We weren't poor, but we were always close to it. My father was a tired man. He worked 12 hours a day as a mechanic, hands covered in grease, back always bent. He never complained, but you could feel the silence in his eyes. My mother was the backbone of everything. She woke up before sunrise, packed lunchboxes, handled bills, and made sure we smiled, even when she didn't have time to eat. We lived in a rented one-bedroom house. One small fan, one leaking tap, and one dream inside my chest that felt too big for the walls. I remember standing near the window every evening, watching people drive by in their shiny Mercedes, laughing with their families, music playing, windows rolled down. I wasn't jealous, but I wondered, how do people get a life like that? What did they do right that we didn't? Will I ever sit in a car like that? While other kids played outside, I had a different obsession. I would walk 3 kilometers to a small cyber cafe and just look at the screens, lines of code, digital worlds, people building things with their mind. That's when I first heard the word software engineer. It felt like magic to me. People who didn't use tools, they used thoughts. They created things out of nothing. And in that moment, I decided I will become one of them. Even though I had no computer, I had no internet at home, I didn't speak English well, and I didn't know anyone who worked in tech. Still, I believed. I believed in something I couldn't touch yet. But dreams don't pay rent. One night I heard my parents whispering, "He's a good boy, but we don't have money for college. Maybe he should just take a job and help us out." I didn't cry, I didn't scream. But something inside me broke. How do you chase a dream when your parents are drowning? So at 17, I made a decision that changed everything. I put my dream in a corner and picked up a security guard uniform. I became the boy who once dreamed of building the future, now guarding it from the outside. Every night at 9 p.m., I stood in front of a tall glass building. Inside, people stayed warm in air-conditioned offices, writing code, designing apps, living the life I once saw on a screen. Outside, I stood still in the cold wind, wearing a dull brown uniform, holding a wooden stick. And every night I told myself, "Liam, this is not the end. You're not stuck. You're just paused." At night, I stood silently in front of those shining offices. While the world slept, I was wide awake. But not just to guard. I was awake to observe, to learn, to build the future no one thought was possible for someone like me. The building I guarded was full of software engineers, people who had everything I wanted. They walked past me every night with confidence in their walk, laptops in their backpacks, ID cards on their chest, and purpose in their eyes. And I was just the watchman to them. Some didn't even look at me. Some nodded. None of them knew that I was watching, not them, but the life I wanted. I had a small second-hand smartphone. It couldn't run games. It could barely stay on for 2 hours. But it had one thing I needed: YouTube. Every break I got, I would sit in a corner of the parking lot and search. What is coding? How to become a software engineer? What is JavaScript? HTML tutorial for beginners. Sometimes the videos buffered for 10 minutes. Sometimes I didn't understand a single word. But I never stopped watching, because each video felt like a key to the door I wasn't allowed to enter yet. I couldn't afford Wi-Fi, so I downloaded free coding PDFs at night using mobile data and read them by candlelight in the morning after my night shift. I would sleep 4 hours a day. My eyes burned. My brain hurt. But my dream kept whispering, "Liam, if you give up now, you'll never forgive yourself." People laughed at me. My relatives said, "He's just a security guard. Let him accept it." My friends said, "You're not smart enough for software." Even my father one night at dinner looked at me and said, "Son, some people are meant to dream. Others are meant to survive. We don't have time for dreams. We need money." I didn't argue. I just nodded. But inside, I made a promise. One day, I will show you that survival is not the only option. One night, it got too much. I hadn't slept in 2 days. I couldn't understand a line of code. I was hungry, tired, and lonely. And as I stood under the office light, holding my stick, I cried, quietly, not loud, just tears falling on my uniform, because I felt like I was reaching for something too far, too high. And I whispered, "Is it really impossible for someone like me?" That night, around 2:45 a.m., a man came out of the office early. He was one of the engineers, young, confident, clean-shaven. He saw me sitting with a notepad and stopped. "What are you doing?" he asked. I looked up and said, "Trying to learn code?" He paused for a moment, and then smiled. "That's brave, man. That's really brave." He didn't laugh. He didn't ignore. He respected it. That one moment, that one sentence, changed everything for me, because it proved I was not crazy. I was just early. From that day, my energy came back. Stronger, sharper, angrier. I studied harder. I started waking up during the day too, just to read more. I stopped caring about what people said. I stopped waiting for support. I became my own teacher, my own motivator, and my own coach. Because I realized nothing is impossible, but everything is lonely first. Part 2. The walls that don't move. My routine was brutal. Night shifts, coding lessons, no college, no mentor, no one to talk to. I was in a fight where nobody even knew I was bleeding. After months of self-study, I decided to build something. A basic website, just HTML and CSS. I spent 2 full weeks writing the code. Sometimes I didn't even sleep after work. I was that hungry. And then, with shaky hands, I clicked run. It crashed. The screen went white. Error. I tried again. Nothing. Everything I had worked on, gone. I forgot one line of code. One simple mistake. And just like that, 2 weeks of hope disappeared. That night, I didn't go home. I sat on the stairs of the building I was guarding. Head down, eyes red, heart shattered. I kept thinking, maybe they're right. Maybe this is not for me. Maybe some people stay guards forever. I didn't feel like a hero. I felt like a ghost. A week later, my father gave me an envelope. Inside it, a pamphlet from a local factory hiring full-time laborers. He said, "They give $200 per month. No night shifts. Maybe it's better for you." I didn't get angry. I understood. He wasn't killing my dream. He was trying to feed the family. But I walked back to my room that night with one thought repeating in my head. If I give up now, I will spend the rest of my life explaining to myself why I didn't try harder. I didn't make a speech. I didn't post motivation on social media. I didn't cry again. I reopened my laptop. I rewrote the code. I read more carefully. I tested one block at a time. I learned the hard way. You can either fail and quit or fail and get smarter. That second time, the website worked. It was small, ugly, basic, but it worked. And for me, it was my Mercedes. Now I had proof I could do it. So I made a bold decision. I started applying for internships and junior jobs, even though I had no degree, no certificate, no connections, no fancy English. I still sent my applications to over 80 companies. You know what I got? 79 rejections. Some didn't reply. Some said I was underqualified. Some laughed. But one company replied, "Your journey is different. Let's talk." That one reply was my doorway. Not to the destination, but to the next level of war. I prepared for 7 days straight. Practiced in front of a mirror. Watched interview videos. Wrote answers in a notebook. Repeated every sentence 50 times. When the day came, I wore my guard uniform because I didn't own a formal shirt. The interviewer looked at me and asked, "Tell me about yourself." I didn't give a polished answer. I just told the truth. I work as a security guard, but I spend every night studying code because I want to become something I've never seen around me. The room was silent for 5 seconds. Then he said, "You're not what we expected, but you're exactly what we're looking for." They hired me as an intern, unpaid. But it was the first time I entered a tech office, not as a guard, but as a learner. That was the moment. I was still poor, still tired, still insecure. But now I had a chair, a desk, a laptop that wasn't mine. But the dream was. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel like I was watching the world. I felt like I was inside it. I still remember the first day. I entered the building, not from the guard's gate, but from the main entrance. No stick in my hand, no uniform on my back, just a cheap shirt and fire in my heart. People who once walked past me without a glance now sat beside me in meetings. But it wasn't easy. They gave me a desk, a computer, a team, and suddenly I was inside the dream I had watched from the parking lot. But dreams are not always soft. They are sharp, and they cut you if you're not ready. Every day I battled. Fear that I would be exposed as a fraud. Insecurity about my English and communication. Shame about my clothes, my past. Pressure to prove I belonged. My teammates had degrees. They had certificates. They understood things faster. Me? I Googled terms during lunch breaks so I wouldn't look stupid in front of them. One day during lunch, a senior engineer asked casually, "Where did you study? Which college?" I paused and said, "I didn't. I was a night security guard before this." The silence that followed felt like a thunderstorm. Some looked impressed. Some looked confused. One just nodded and walked away. And that day I realized something. The world may open the door, but you still have to prove you deserve to stay inside. That night, I didn't sleep. I went back to my old habits, practiced interview questions again, watched advanced tutorials, reread documentation, took free courses with broken subtitles, because I knew this is not the time to relax. This is the time to become unshakable. I stopped comparing. I started focusing. I stopped explaining. I started executing. 3 months into my internship, I was given a small task to fix a bug in a live product. It was complicated. Others had tried and failed. And my manager said, "Try if you want. No pressure." I didn't say yes, I didn't say no. I just took the code home and studied for 2 days without stopping. I broke down the bug, read forums, ran tests, got stuck, cried, tried again, and again, and again, and finally, I solved it. The manager didn't say much. He just smiled and forwarded my code to the CTO. But that night, when I walked out of the building, I looked up at the sky and whispered, "You see, I told you I don't belong outside forever." A few weeks later, my internship became a paid role. It wasn't a big amount, just $300. But when I saw the message in my bank account, I cried. Because that money didn't just represent salary, it represented proof. Proof that my pain wasn't pointless, my nights weren't wasted, my fire wasn't foolish, my dream wasn't impossible. I went home after many months. Same house, same leaking tap, same small kitchen. But something was different. When my father saw me, he didn't ask anything. He just said, "You look different." I opened my bag and gave him my first check. He didn't cry, but his hands were shaking. He looked at me and said something I'll never forget. "I thought your dream was too big, but maybe I was just too tired to believe." There was no party, no big announcement, no post on social media, but inside me, a war ended. I was no longer the boy who stood outside the building. I was now part of the future. Part 3. From guard to guide. Years passed. The security guard uniform that once wrapped my pain now sat folded in my cupboard. Untouched, but never forgotten. Today, I sit at a desk not as a guard, but as a full-time software engineer. Not in a small firm, not in a temporary role, but in one of the world's top companies. I now write code that reaches millions, lead teams that build global products, mentor interns who once sat where I did, walk through airports, laptops in my bag, confidence in my step. And when I look in the mirror, I don't see a genius. I see a fighter. Sometimes I visit that old building I once guarded. I stand at the gate where I once stood with a stick. I watch a new guard walk in, sleepy, quiet, unnoticed. I smile at him, because I know behind that uniform there could be another dream silently burning. One night, while coding late, I got a call from my father. His voice was soft. "I showed your photo to everyone at work today. Told them, that's my son, a software engineer." He paused and said, "You made me proud, Liam. But more than that, you made me believe again." I couldn't speak. I just cried. Because for the first time, my dream didn't just save me. It healed my family. I started writing my story, not to become famous, but to leave behind proof for kids like me. I titled it, "The Boy Who Stood Outside." Because that's who I was. A boy on the outside of the world, watching through the glass, believing that maybe, just maybe, he could find a way in. You know what the real lesson is? It's not about becoming rich. It's not about proving haters wrong. It's not about success. It's about not letting the world convince you that your dream doesn't belong to you. Because here's what I've learned. Talent helps. Money helps. Support helps. But the real power is this: a mind that refuses to quit. A heart that keeps showing up. a soul that doesn't care how long it takes. Now, after these years, my life doesn't look the same anymore. The boy who once counted coins now earns a salary he once thought was impossible. Not luxury at first, not millions, but enough to breathe, enough to stand straight, enough to say, I made it this far. With my first real salary, I did not buy expensive clothes. I did not show off. I bought a new fan for my parents' house, a proper bed for my father's tired back, a phone for my mother so she could call me anytime, and groceries without checking prices. That moment, when my mother smiled without worry, that was richer than any car. Years later, I bought my first car. Nothing fancy. But when I held the keys, my hands shook, because I remembered the boy who once stood on the road, watching other people's Mercedes pass by, and wondering if life would ever choose him. That day, life chose me, not because I was lucky, not because it was easy, but because I didn't stop when it was hard. And that's when I understood the truth. Struggle changes you quietly. Success announces you loudly. Now, you've just heard the story. A boy with nothing, who proved that nothing is impossible. But this isn't just a motivational story. It's not fiction. It's history. Let me now show you real people who lived the pain, who were laughed at, who were told, you can't. And still, they changed the world. Neil Armstrong, the first human to step on the moon. But did you know? He was once told, space exploration is impossible. He didn't listen. He didn't just touch the moon. He walked on it. Albert Einstein. As a child, he couldn't speak properly till age 4. His teachers said, he will never succeed in life. But he went on to change the laws of physics forever, because greatness doesn't need permission. Thomas Edison. He failed 1,000 times trying to invent the light bulb. When people laughed at him, he said, I didn't fail. I just found 1,000 ways that won't work. Today, the world sees light, because one man refused to stay in the dark. Listen closely, my friend. People will try to stop you. They'll say, you're not smart enough. You're too late. You're from the wrong place. It's not realistic. When they say that, look them in the eyes and say, shut up. This is my life, my journey, my dream, not yours. Yes, situations will be hard. Yes, days will come when your hands shake and your heart breaks. Yes, you will cry alone. Yes, the world will ignore you. But guess what? The world ignores you until it can no longer ignore your results. Remember this, my friend. Today is the period of struggle, but tomorrow will be the period of success. So don't cry because it's hard. Don't quit because it's lonely. Don't stop because it's slow. Instead, get louder, get better, get obsessed, because nothing is impossible. And if no one believes in you, then believe in yourself harder. This is not just a video. This is a wake-up call. So if this story made your heart beat louder, if it reminded you who you are, like it, share it, and comment below. I will never give up. And don't forget to subscribe, because this channel is not here to entertain you. It's here to rebuild you. Nothing is impossible. Now go prove it.